Eric Upchurch, what's up, my friend?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Doing good. Tried to go live in my Facebook group. Technical difficulties. It's
Yeah.
all good. Now the whole world gets it, which is even better.
Well, give a plug to your Facebook group. You can
Uh,
share this into your Facebook group
yeah,
later, but
the real estate networking connections group. I like going live in a group because there's more engagement. Everybody
mhm.
gets everybody gets that
Yeah.
notification, and there's just more engagement than just a random live. But
Yep.
dude, love I love chatting with you. Honored to chat with you when we get to, and we're going to
Always,
talk
brother.
about a lot of things. We're going to talk about some multifamily a little bit, and then you've got some stuff that's on your heart that I think everybody needs to hear. We start talking about passion, purpose, legacy. Like, why are we even doing this? So, just want to kind of start off with this whole multifamily thing. Kind of bring people in. A common real estate investing is kind of a common theme that we all have. At least, a lot of the people that are watching me, watching you. What changes have you seen in multifamily in the last 6 months? Anything major that
Oh,
you're seeing right now?
I'll go back 9 months, or actually even the beginning of the year. I was at a mastermind and multifamily mastermind, and it was in Vegas, and everyone was sitting around. There's probably 30 of us sitting around, or 20 of us sitting around, and talking about changes to come, and what who's got the crystal ball, and what we're expecting to have happen, and at that time, so maybe say February, the word retrade, which for those of you who don't know what that is in commercial multifamily, is really just renegotiating the terms of the deal. And that was a pretty derogatory term, even a year ago, or even say 9 months ago. But so number one, that is something now that is relatively common, if not completely common on every deal. And I've been on, in the last 9 months, I've been on both sides of that. I've been a seller who's been retraded, and I've been a buyer who actively needs to retrade. And there are several reasons why you would need to do that now versus, the past 4 years that I've been doing this, when you typically wouldn't. And one of those big ones is lending. I mean, terms were all over the place. Your lending terms, lenders were dropping off the face of the earth. They were pulling term sheets. Um, they were telling you they couldn't lock rates. I mean, don't need to go down a rabbit hole. Everyone who's in real estate knows what I'm talking about here. But so things got kind of confusing for people to figure out, how do I write this deal? How do I write this offer? How do I underwrite for something we're going to close in 3 months when things are changing so quickly?
Right.
So we've had to jump through some of those hurdles, and that was an adjustment. That was number one. Another thing that we saw early this year is, which continues still, is this idea from, and again, I've been on both sides of this, buyer and seller, where sellers are still stuck in like a 2019, 2020 kind of, I've got an amazing asset mentality. So not willing to give you the deal that you think as a buyer you can go out and get now. So it's kind of this like muddled gray area of like, well, let's wait to see how it shakes out. And sellers are still cautiously optimistic and finding deals, or buyers, and sellers are still kind of optimistic that they still have an amazing asset that's cash flowing well and as strong as it ever was. So it's an interesting, 2022 has been an interesting year for commercial multifamily. Are we still buying and selling assets? Yep. It just takes more time to figure out the right buyer and seller and the right deal, and preparing for longer due diligence periods and more contingencies added to LOIs or purchase and sale agreements. So a lot of kind of little things that we've had to do to make sure that we're prepared to buy or sell.
Eric, help me understand something, because I'm coming from the single family world, and I don't know that I understand exactly. Like, it would seem to me like if you have a some sort of asset that is already locked into a rate, what and I don't know that rents, and I'm not talking about all across the country, but it doesn't seem like rents have been affected too much. What's the problem? I don't understand. What's the problem with someone who is currently holding an asset if you got it locked into a really great rate and the rents aren't really changing?
Yeah, it's just a fear factor. Really, the asset can still, I mean, that the numbers don't lie, right? Once you normalize the numbers and you've underwritten them and you've had your team underwritten them and your mortgage broker underwrite them and the bank that has underwritten it and everyone's kind of comfortable with it. And then the Fed does something, or, that switches the rates up and it's honestly, the quick answer is fear. No one wants to get caught with their pants down. No one wants to get caught in a situation where they can't make the DSCR work. They can't make the payments on the thing. They can't pay their investors what they promised. So it's just fear. And I think over the next couple of years, that fear is going to subside as things stabilize. When things, and you saw that, I don't know, today I saw in the gym, them talking about a little bit of stabilization, and I'm no economist. I saw Jason Scott's in your group and stuff, and I love his content. It's fantastic. I learned from him, and Anna Kelly as well. But I saw them saying, oh, well, inflation is now 5.7, or I don't know, whatever it was. And do I believe that? I don't know. I mean, I'm no economist. I just know kind of, real estate. So, but when things stabilize, the fear goes down. This is just another one of those cycles. If you're getting started, or if you want to get started in multifamily properties, now is a great time to learn from experienced operators. There are a lot of people out there that you can do deals with that know what they're doing. Probably a difficult time to get started completely on your own. Although multifamily, you don't do things on your own. You build a team. You might have 2, 3, 4, or 5 general partners on a deal for multifamily. And my recommendation is to get started with someone who has done a few deals and knows how to kind of figure out the market and deal with the banks and your attorneys and all that stuff and kind of navigate the waters.
So, and you just got to forgive my ignorance. Hopefully you will. I'm still trying to understand so multifamily works typically in 5-year increments. Is that pretty typical?
Depends on the model. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to pitch, I would say, man, if I just had to guess off the top of my head, 90% of deals that are pitched out there are providing investors a 5-year pro forma. So yeah. Generally.
So let's just say in January of 22 or in 21, anytime in 2021, I locked a rate in with a lender, institutional lender at, I don't know, what would be a great rate in 2021?
Say somewhere in the 5s.
Somewhere in the 5s.
Yep.
Rents haven't changed. Rents have actually gone up in the last 6 months, 12 months. What's the problem? What's the problem for me?
No problem if you own the asset. Now. Yeah. The problem would come depending on the loan type you got, because a lot of the loans that multifamily operators will get are bridge loans, shorter term bridge loans with options to extend. So you might get a 2-year loan, interest only loan, with an option to extend for 6 months at one point of the debt, or 2 6-month extensions, or 2 1-year extensions, depending on the lender, depending on the loan product. So if you get caught, one problem that could be, 5 is great. So if you're already at that point, but now say you had to refi in 2023 and rates are at 7.5, and you didn't account for that, then you liquidate the asset. You owe your investors their capital. You owe them some kind of return. So as long as your rents are strong, you may have to sell the asset. Worst case scenario, if things were terrible, you'd have to give it back to the bank or something, which the banks don't want it either. So, right. That's why it's a great idea to try to go for 5, 7, 10-year terms on loans. But with the kind of ambiguity of what's going on in the market right now, it's pretty darn common to get 2 to 3-year bridge loans, shorter term loans.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And then I know that there's a lot of seller financing in this world too. Just because of the nature of the deal, the size of the deals. And then like you mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of a team sport, which means you've got investors, you've got a lot of different hands are kind of in the pie, so to speak. So it's not just I'm flipping a house and I got to go out here and fix the house up, put it on the market, and it's really just kind of me.
Yeah.
And if worst thing happens, I just lower the price a little bit and I take a little bit less, or I've got like a fourplex or something and it's just me.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell that thing.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like, your hand kind of has to get played for you in a sense, because you have other people to answer for.
Yeah. I mean, you could. So let me counterbalance that a little bit with a reason why someone who has a fourplex or a duplex could get stuck also. So say things get really bad with the economy and, 2 of the 4 tenants can't pay their rent, then your economic occupancy is 50% and you're not paying your bills, or you're coming out of pocket to pay your bills. Right. So let's just say, I mean, these aren't completely corollary, but let's just say, so the situation I just laid out for multifamily, where you can't really have all the control because you've got to make sure you have, you can hit your debt service coverage ratio, or your terms change on your thing. You've got to sell it or refinance it. You can't refinance because the rates are way higher and your cash flow would be killed and your interest only is gone and all that stuff that we just talked about. But you still got, say, a 100-unit asset with 80 tenants paying and maybe 20 aren't. And so you're at 80% economic occupancy. So the risk factor on a multifamily, I mean, again, these aren't exactly apples to apples comparisons, but I'm just trying to say there are risks with both, really, because if the economy takes a dump, and a lot of people who went through the last wave, I was in the military during the last recession, so I didn't have to worry about this, but my mentor lost $50 million because he owned all single family properties in the last recession. Because one person doesn't pay in a single family property, that's 100% vacancy on one property. So that one business is going under, versus, your economic occupancy in something that has many doors, can outlast something that's in a different situation like that. So I don't know, risks to everything. I guess I could ramble on and on about that, but I like multifamily. I think the way we typically look at exit strategies, we're conservative when we pad a lot of stuff, and we tell our investors that they're going to expect one thing, knowing that we can do a lot better than that. Because if stuff hits the fan, then we're still protected. We're still going to be able to give them what they expected, even if stuff kind of goes not the way we had planned. So you always under promise, over deliver, and that's pad. And that's just one example of, through the underwriting, where you're going to pad your numbers to make sure that if something really bad happens, you can still pay your investors.
Yeah. Which seems to be, you just carry on this, this extra, almost like this weight. Like if it's just me, I don't have that extra like weight on my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've got a family here. I'm not just feeding me and my family. I'm feeding a lot of people's families, or
Sure.
A lot of people's families are getting fed through this deal.
Yeah, but it's also, if we're going to pay a pref, which is a preferred return, there are, and so we have our SEC attorneys outline in a private placement memorandum, there are risks to any investment, right? And so we have, say, a 8% preferred return on a deal. And this is a hypothetical deal. There are no deals right now that I'm offering. That was an SEC thing, by the way.
Right.
So,
right. Like I have to say that this
I do not have any deals, right? So
this is for entertainment purposes only.
This is for entertainment. Yeah,
I have to say that.
Brian Trippe's news media source. Entertainment purposes only. Okay, so what was I saying? Geez, I just sidetracked myself.
Preferred.
Yeah, so the pref. So the pref actually doesn't have to be actualized until your capital event. So a sale. Really, by the end of the term, your investors will be paid the pref usually you'd pay that quarterly and everything's hunky dory and, it's all good and everyone's caught up. But you actually say you've got a 5-year investment when your investors are like the first deal I ever did as a limited partner, as a passive investor, the term said 5 to 12 years. And I'm like, wow, I'm putting in $100,000 for 5 to 12 years. And it's, like, just going to hope to see some investment money, some money back, and it was an 8 pref and, they paid quarterly, but they didn't technically owe me quarterly. They can, in order to make the asset, remember, limited partners and general partners are partners in the deal. There are active partners and passive partners, but so a general partner who is operating the asset and the business plan can put together, we'll talk to the other general partners and go, okay, well, we need to stop distributions this month because we're bleeding cash here or there. And then we'll communicate to our passive investors that this is best for the asset and it's going to protect your investment. So it's just a communication thing at that point, knowing that the investor is going to get their 8 pref by the end anyway, before I get paid as a general partner. So, and then if you don't involve a pref, it's just a general split of whatever below the line number is. So,
yeah. So, Eric, like, how does, you mentioned like this might be a little bit harder of a time for someone to get into something like multifamily because it's a completely different world. Really,
yeah.
just the terminology you're using compared to what I'm used to with the single family world, really is kind of intimidating, to be honest. And I just don't know anything about it. Or, the only thing I know about it is when I have somebody like you on to kind of talk me through the basics. But for the folks that might be watching this now or later, what's the benefit of moving forward? Like why do we do this? Why would you do multifamily? Not why would you do multifamily instead of single family, but why would you do this at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect segue into passion and purpose probably, but a couple ways to look at it. Some people will buy assets for large chunks of money on acquisition fees and asset management fees and, several sources of income from buying larger apartment complexes versus single family properties that might have single sources of income. But, ultimately, I got to say, it was intimidating to me in 2018 when I first heard that normal people like me could buy apartment complexes. I thought it was for super wealthy people or, I don't know, REITs or something. I didn't know that you and I could partner up and go buy a 200 unit apartment complex. I had no idea that was a thing. And to do it with, you got to have money, but you don't have to have your own money. And that's something that single family investors can relate to, is OPM, other people's money. And through credibility and rapport and time, you can not only learn the language of, which is essential and makes you kind of more competent and confident in this industry. You can not only learn the language, but you can build rapport enough to have an investor base. So there are similarities to both, really. Is you want to build your brand. I mean, you do a great job of doing that. You build your brand around REI Live. And I have my personal brand, and people will say, well, I either like what I heard, or I didn't like what I heard. And those are the people who sign up for your newsletter and sign up to talk to you and want to invest with you. See the results and then go on to the next investment. And so it just takes time. But I'm no different than anybody else 4 years ago, drinking through a fire hose at a conference, just going like, wait a minute, I have no idea what 90% of what this person said, but I'm willing to learn, and I can follow. If thousands of other people have done this before me, I'm sure I can figure it out. So if anyone's interested, don't be super intimidated. You just have to take that first step and get educated, learn the basics, build teams, be vulnerable. Like, you're giving me some softball questions, I think, which is fantastic. But if you ask me anything complicated, I'm just going to say, hey, I don't know. Somebody on my team knows that answer, but I can't answer that right now. So I'm not trying to BS anybody.
I think, what's interesting about your story and what I guess what little I know about you is that so you learn this thing, this multifamily thing, and you're really learning it, and you're learning it as you go.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like pretty quickly you made a decision to take this multifamily thing and apply it to what you're actually passionate about. Like with the ADPI thing, like
Yeah.
it's, how did that all come about, and how did it come about so quickly? Because you're sitting here talking about 2018. Did I meet you in 2018?
Yeah. Yep.
So I met you when you were like just brand new at this. I didn't even realize that.
It's green as they come.
But ADPI was already out there. Active duty passive income. You guys were already marking.
Yeah,
you guys were already going.
Yeah, we founded in 2017, and going on our 6th year now, which is going to be fantastic. And to answer your question, what it came down to was listening to our community. The reason we have nearly 70,000 members now is because we shared our story that with people that had a similar background, which is military, and told a compelling story that was ours, of our journey. And as we were sharing our journey, people would ask questions, and we would find resources and answer them, and then do more. And then we would say, here's what we found out about this thing. And so multifamily comes in because we started buying multifamily assets, and our community started saying, well, can we buy multifamily assets? And can you, since you're the leader in the US in military real estate investing education, can you create a way for us to learn? And more importantly than the learning part, ultimately, is the collaboration with other military real estate investors. So we have a community now, the Military Multifamily Academy and Mastermind, that is all military. We all speak the same language, several same languages, military language, and multifamily language, and are able to collaborate and do deals together and learn together and grow together and do all those amazing things. So really, it was just sharing and listening to what the audience, what our team and our community needed, and providing it. And that did very quickly become noticed that multifamily was something that our community wanted.
But to actually try to help people doing this when you yourself were brand new to it, there wasn't really, you didn't wait, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. You didn't wait till you became super successful at it, and then you tried to share it with your community. Then you tried to help other people. You're trying to help other people immediately. It's almost as if that was already in you. It didn't matter what you were going to be doing. You were going to come back to this and help this military community.
Yeah, I mean, sharing. So we did have a few deals by the time we started the Military Multifamily Academy. We had a few deals collectively on the team. We had completed, and training from 3 different platforms, 3 different kind of guru platforms. So collectively, we had a lot of information, a lot of reach, a lot of resources. And Adam and Tim on our team developed the academy, and really that learning while you're doing and showing people your failures, man, that's valuable. Explaining to a coaching student what not to do is just as important as telling them what to do. And we were able to do that because we were, learning. We had hundreds of doors already purchased, but we were just, again, sharing our experiences along the way, and it was super valuable. So
it kind of leads me, obviously you got some stuff that you want to talk about today, and I've got some stuff I want to talk to you about. Ironman. I want to talk to you about some of this other stuff that you're doing. But going back to purpose, and it seems like that sharing something of value to that community was important to you.
Yeah.
Why? Where did that come from? You get out of the military and you want to help people immediately, or did you go through a transition phase?
To, not want to. It was a have to.
Why?
Because I buried 6 of my friends. We lost 19 while I served in 6 years in special operations. And the hardest thing I've ever done, even above an Ironman without training, which we'll talk about, the hardest thing I've ever done is to fold a flag over my buddy and listening to his mother cry and knowing who she is and who he is and serving many years. So coming back into the civilian sector and starting this military real estate investing education company and community, that was a great segue for me, a transition which military members need. But the need, not the want, to help others do the same thing was inherent. And my brothers and sisters need it. They need to know that they're valued, they're valuable. And when they have a checklist and a system in place, they can execute anything. And so real estate investing, there's nothing super hard about real estate investing. It is a systematic thing that anybody can figure out. Hard is getting shot at. Hard is deploying 5 times. Hard is burying your friends. This is not hard. So kind of going forward with that, going, okay, well, there's more to it than that. Who else? We have 2 arms for a reason. One for our mentors and peers to bring us up, and one to help others come up with us. So, as we're building ADPI in the community, I started really just, soul searching and even more and diving in. And one thing that I take from my unit creed, I say it often, that I continue to live, and it really does drive me. So I serve with the memory and pride of those who've gone before me, for they love to fight, fought to win, and rather die than quit. So was my day hard? On my hardest day? No. And when I was going through the Ironman, I was thinking about that. I was going, man, my buddies who I buried would absolutely love to feel the pain in my quads right now. Like they would just love to be 60% of the way through this 56-mile bike ride and just saying to themselves, I can't go another mile. But here I am, and they're not. So, I mean, pushing through that stuff leads me to like, okay, let's think a lot bigger. How do we raise money? You and I have raised money together also for a cause that's near and dear to my heart, Veterans Community Project, which will absolutely end veteran homelessness this decade. And we raised a lot of money. You and I and a group of people raised $190,000 for Veterans Community Project, a platinum rated nonprofit that is fantastic. Actually just had the opportunity to go out and build some of those homes up in Longmont, Colorado. So kind of full circle. I don't need to, I don't want to, I need to, I need for my head to be in the right space, which is helping other people. And it's like, I need to constantly trick myself into thinking that I matter in a strange way. And the way to do that is through, like, it's a weird thing to say, kind of like I do these things selfishly because I need it. And if it helps other people, that's fantastic. But I think a lot of military members can relate to that when you have a new sense of purpose and mission and drive after the military, man, you can do amazing things. But you got to have the right team around you and the right community.
But I don't know that that's just military though. I think that's innate.
No,
I think that's
no.
human.
There's so many. I'm speaking for this, but it applies to first responders. It applies to anyone who has, like, so many people, athletes, anyone who has experienced any kind of trauma really can completely relate to that from that kind of angle or perspective. So it's not siloed to military at all.
You're sitting here talking about like selfishly, like we as humans, we need some kind of purpose that goes beyond us. Otherwise, it just seems like, and I experienced this firsthand over the past, few years. I'm just wilting away, withering away. If we're always in it for us, it's, what's left, it's just us. And I just feel like we all need that purpose. Eric, what would you say to someone who's out there that might be watching this or listening to this and they're just like, I don't know what my purpose is. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm try to find what it is. I try to read books. I try to like listen to stuff like this. And I get up in the morning And I just,
Yep.
I'm clueless.
My advice to you out there, if you don't know what your purpose is to go into your community and help somebody. Just start there. If you don't know who to help, walk through the grocery store and smile. That's a start. Just baby steps.
Yeah.
When you smile, someone will smile back. They might say something to you. When you say something to somebody, they might say something back. Start conversations. You'll never know who you run into. And look at conversations as an opportunity to maybe find a passion, maybe find a purpose, maybe be able to help somebody. But without action, you won't find the reason you're here. And you have a reason to be here. So baby steps is the answer. Go out and help somebody today. Find one person you can help. You know, when you drive by somebody on the freeway and they broke down and you're like, somebody will get them. Maybe stop one time. Maybe that's you that's going to pull over and just make sure that guy on the side of the road has a tow truck coming. Maybe that's the one opportunity that's going to lead to, oh man, I am the president of the Jeep Club. You really saved my life. This is awesome. And maybe I love Jeeps and holy cow, this was an amazing opportunity. How'd that happen? It starts by you just trying, just to try to help somebody.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So what's next? So we did the Lake Tahoe, the rim trail.
Yeah.
And I remember, that's a powerful statement that you just said earlier about someone who's not here. Just they would wish to just feel this pain, feel something like, and I remember you said that when we were doing the rim trail, you said something similar to that. And it just brings it all to life. It just brings like what you're doing, the causes that you're the multiple causes that you're kind of, heading up. It brings it to life. It puts it in front of us that we're not just hiking a trail here. I have to get up. I remember that one morning, it was like, what was it? 25, 30, might've been 30 degrees. It was cold. That one morning, nobody wanted to get up. And you were just like, I have to get up and we got to get moving. We got to get going.
My mattress popped the night before. I mean, the whole thing.
I learned
Sleeping
my lesson
on a rock.
Yep. I learned my lesson. I'm never having a blow up.
I learned my lesson as well. Yep.
Yeah. So I went out and bought I got a mattress pad now, a regular one, not blow up one.
Yeah. That was 9 days of on the trail hiking at 6 a.m. There wasn't an option to not be on the trail by 6 a.m. because we were averaging, I mean, we're not as quick as you. We were averaging, man, like 16, 18 hours a day with 38 pounds on our back. And if we started later, we'd end later. And I don't want to, I mean, there were a couple of nights where we strolled in on the side of a mountain at 1 a.m.
So talk about that for a second, because I ended up joining up with you guys a couple of days later.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get out on time. I couldn't get away from family obligations on time. And there's at the beginning of the hike. So we're going around Lake Tahoe. It's about 170 miles ish.
Yeah.
And day 2 of the hike is the tallest point.
Yeah. Relay Peak.
And I ended up doing it on my own. I got there a little bit late. I ended up doing that on my own. And it was a brutal day for me. Yeah. It was raining, sleeting, and snowing. Yeah. Wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour, I learned later.
Somebody had to get like helivaced out of there that day, I think.
I don't know about that. I didn't hear about that. That was one of the toughest moments of my hiking life, where I'm just like, I never thought I wasn't going to make it, but there were a couple times where I was waist deep in snow.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to that. Because the snow's kind of like melting, and I put my trekking pole in it, and it seems pretty good. And I take a step and I fall through, and I'm to my waist.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the whole time I'm just like, I mean, the wind was like blowing me off the trail. So all that being said, you with 6, 7, 8 other people, tell your experience. 'Cause I did it alone. You had a even crazier experience.
Well, I mean, it does add when you've got all kinds of different physiques, and hiking abilities,
Right.
and no man left behind, or woman. We had one woman. And so we definitely stayed together. There were areas of the trail where obviously for 6 hours, there was no trail to hike on. You're hiking over snow. It was 6 hours to us. It was probably 2 for you, but gnarly. I mean, places on that trail that if you one wrong step and you're 300 yards down the side of a incline. And so it was a very like one step, one pull, one step, one pull, sharing micro spikes, those those types of things like you and I have done in Yosemite.
And meanwhile, and I'm sure you guys did this too, I've got my GPS in one hand because, like you said, the trail is snowed over. I'm talking about feet of snow.
Yeah, feet.
And I'm having to keep
in
my
June
GPS
still
in one
feet.
hand. Right. And then I've got both my trekking poles in this other hand, just trying to balance myself and try to follow where it was really difficult.
Yeah, it was nuts. And so we were a day ahead of you at that point. And texting you for you listeners, we're texting Brian saying, please don't do that. Skip over this part. Please do not do this alone. Everyone is saying you should not be out there today. There is sleet. There were literally like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts or something. It was just absolutely gnarly. The worst day of the year probably to be up there. And Brian's like, no, I'm good, dude. I'm fine. No problem. Typical Brian.
I was not doing that. The tallest point, I was definitely doing that.
Yeah. It was
anyway,
pretty gnarly.
So that was a tough day. I catch up with you guys, a couple days later, and it was just slow going. It was a lot of miles. It was early mornings. It was late nights. It was trying to carry, 4 or 5 days. I think y'all are out there for 9 days, trying to carry 4 or 5 days worth of food. And then with one resupply, carrying 4 or 5 days worth of food. And let's not forget the point of this. You're doing all this. Why?
Because, and actually to build the story up as we're raising donations for this, because our hardest day there was not as bad as the 32,000 homeless veterans that are out there sleeping in the streets. And so, I think of, yes, my fallen brothers, but also my brothers in arms and sisters in arms who are out there sleeping under bridges and just need a kickstart. And, so we raised that money for them. And part of this was like, well, they're out there suffering. We're going to show the world that we can go out there and suffer for just 9 days and endure this pain and raise some money for a great cause.
Yeah. So did the Tahoe Rim Trail in June. You did an Ironman, a half Ironman, a 70.3. Tell everybody about that. How'd that go?
So
tell everybody about your training as well.
Yeah, let me give a short backstory. 2019, a few of us had a bet going. Me and Kevin, were you involved in that? Pasha.
I didn't know there was a bet. Okay, I got dragged into this. It was, but I didn't know there was
$1,000 for whoever had the slowest time on a half Ironman. Had to donate $1,000 to the other person's favorite charity. And so I was like, oh, I'm in, because I'm not going to lose to Kevin or whoever, So that was 2019. We signed up and it was scheduled for April 4th, I think, 2020. COVID hit. It got delayed. And finally, I booked it the last time. They were like, okay, you've got to do this or else you're not going to be able to compete because, it's been so many years or whatever.
You won't get your money back. You had to do it.
Yeah. So I booked it for several months, like probably 6 months ago for December 4th, 2022. And no one else did that I had the bet going with. So here it was, but I committed. And I said, my life's about doing hard things. And, it's not about doing hard things without preparation, but the result, I was training in 2019. I think I was prepared then. But I'm on a different health track now. And I wasn't going to switch that up to go and train for a triathlon. But here's the thing. I've never done a triathlon, no sprint, no Olympic, no any distance triathlon. I'm not a biker. I'm not a swimmer. I don't run. So I did not do any training whatsoever. I only walk on the treadmill, like 10 to 15,000 steps a day. I walk on the treadmill. Other than that, did not bike, did not swim, did not run. And I show up, and this is down in Palm Springs, and it was 57.6 degree water that morning. I also, funny thing, I don't use the word lightly, but I hate cold water.
Did you have a wetsuit? You didn't have a wetsuit.
I had to. I know you're crazy,
Okay.
man, for cold plunging with no wetsuit, but
No.
this is what's funny. I cannot even stand next to the cold mist of a shower until it warms up. Like, I just know
It's hard.
So one of the things I say it was because I went to Navy SEER school up in northern Maine, and that experience in March was cold enough to that's my excuse anyway for why I cannot stand cold water. But I did it, and I showed up that morning. I had all the logistics squared away. And I swam 1.2 miles. I biked 56, and I ran a half marathon. And 60% of the way through each event, I wanted to give up. I really was in so much pain for various reasons. My calf cramping on the swim, or starting to cramp. So I just didn't use it, so it didn't cramp. To just like even opening up my wetsuit to get the cold water in to warm it up was just hell for me. Using riding on the bike with no hands for many miles with no hands. Not that that's a cool trick, but just so I could use my triceps to push my legs down. Like, my quads were so shot that I was using my arms to push my legs down. And so that started about mile 38. And then I had to get off the bike and go run 13.1, which ended up being fine.
But you can walk that. I mean,
I could walk that, except you have to hit all the times. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do all this and not hit my times. Right. I'm not leaving here without that medal.
Were you close to?
No, I was like an hour. I had like over an hour left that I could have squandered, but I was worried the whole time because I wasn't tracking closely on my watch. I was just trying to hustle where I could. And so someone asked me before the race, and I want to talk about this for a sec. Someone asked me what my specialty was on the shuttle bus at 4 a.m. on the way to the to T1.
Real estate.
This was also the start. What's your specialty? And I would love to say real estate, but I immediately responded and just said grit. I have no specialty but grit. I'm here because, and in my head, I'm going through all the reasons why that I've already talked about here, but just grit. And then coincidentally, or not, depending on if Facebook's listening or not, I heard a TED talk from Angela Lee Duckworth describing that very word the next day. And she said one characteristic emerged after multiple studies. One characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. It wasn't social intelligence. It wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. And I was just like, dang, that is my specialty. And it sucks to say that because I would love to be prepared. But I also know that in my head, I am prepared. Mentally, I can get over the physical as long as there are no injuries. There are obviously always caveats to injury. But grit is having stamina. Grit is passion and perseverance for, to be able to achieve your long-term goals. And that day, that was all I was thinking about, was just like, I have to grit it out to get cold, to get sandy, to get dirty, to get that pain, and to get to the damn finish line. So I did. So grit.
It's incredible, man. Really not much training at all to do that. That's pretty amazing. My triathlon coach told me this is recently, this is like a week ago, we're in the water. And he said, so I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, a triathlete doesn't do this. A triathlete doesn't do that. A triathlete does this. And I'm like looking at him like, I'm not a triathlete. I'm a real estate investor.
Nice.
Oh man. But that's a great answer, man. Grit. And you have it. And you do have grit, because there's a lot of times I want to share this example before we leave. we're doing the Lake Tahoe Rim Trail, and it is like you mentioned earlier, not everyone on that hike had the same physique. Not everybody on that hike was incredibly fit and was really, I don't know if anyone was qualified to be hiking something like that.
And I had 2 leg surgeries last year too. So
right. So
everyone had something.
We all kind of had our deficiencies, but we were not making the kind of time that you wanted to make and a handful of others wanted to make. Because anytime you go on a big hike like that, no one's going to be able to hike at the same pace. It's just not going to happen.
No.
But you had a group of people that wanted to move. You had another group of people that couldn't, and they're doing what they can do. And you as a leader, how you step up and kind of bridge the gap, because I know inside of you, you're dying to, you want to move, you want to go, but you're bridging that gap. Just how do you even get something like for me, like I'm so independent, and I guess that's a nice way of saying I'm selfish, is I just want to go. I'm gonna go, but you understand the importance of the team, and you understand the importance of keeping everybody together. A, why is that important? And B, where does that come from? Like, how do you get that skill? Because that's a skill.
Yeah. I mean, I think two-part. One, it was a personality trait that I didn't choose. I've been a leader since 12 years old, working in the cornfields in Iowa, always a team leader, a store manager, and then in the military, I was a squad leader of 27 men, and, made all of them go to college. These are enlisted guys, made all of them go to college and really pushed them and encouraged them. And I don't know, I feel value in that, and, in that kind of leadership. And that's something that, man, I don't think I'm like a super compassionate person in general, but it's thinking of the team and how much better I will be off if my team is better off. I do that in business as well. And so I don't know, it partly is just, it was ingrained in me in the military, and it's also suited for my personality. So I'm glad you recognize that, because I don't recognize that intentionally whenever it's happening. So
it's a great quality to have for sure. I think it lends itself to being a person everybody wants to be around. And I don't know how many enemies you have, but when your name comes up,
there are many. I'm sure there are many.
Your name comes up, everybody wants to be around you. So what's next, man? So I know that you're incredibly passionate about continuing to raise money to end homeless veterans. I think it's an incredibly admirable cause. And I remember reading an Andy Stanley book a long time ago called Visioneering, about how to develop vision. And it's not just how to develop it in you, but as a visionary, how to get other people. It's one thing for you to get it and for you to understand it. Here's my vision. Here's where I'm going. But what truly makes a vision pop out and make an impact, the impact that you want it to have, is to instill it into others, have others grab a hold of this vision that you have. And you've done that, and you do an incredible job of that. Because now, like, I'm just speaking for myself, like, it's a cause that's important to me. And I'm not even a veteran. I was never, I've got a lot of family members who were, and I've been kind of around it a lot, but it's an important cause to me. And I think that that's a lot of because of your passion. And not just your passion, but you put not just your money, but your time and your effort and everything behind it. So what's next in trying to raise more money for this incredibly admirable cause, and as you call it, a realistic cause? You can end this thing.
Definitely. Yep.
What's next? What are you trying to do? How can we all help?
Yeah, the answer is I look at everybody as someone on my team until they opt out. And even then, if they opt out, as long as they spell my name right, they're still part of the team and don't know it. So it's really a good leader, I think, is influencing others around them to do what needs to be done to accomplish the mission. And in my mind, the people around me, the people I'm able to influence, and not manipulate influence in a positive way to do something positive for other people or communities or tenants or anyone I work with. That permeates. When you influence one person, they tell 4 others, and then those 4 tell 4 others. And so kind of leading with that, I put positivity around myself. I put, I have vision boards in front of me that scream, donate $1 million annually, ending veteran homelessness this decade. Those, Iron Man is on there, lots of things that I have that I want to accomplish are on there. And when you do that, that's being intentional. And that intention leads to a conversation because it's in your head. Even if it's subconscious. And I'm going to be donating $1 million a year to this cause. And I do know a number that will end veteran homelessness in the next 7 years. And I'm relentless about it. I just took 2 of the founders of Veterans Community Project in Colorado to a dinner in Colorado, just a small example. I had researched prior to and found that Elon Musk's brother owns the enterprise for that restaurant. And I had them bring a pamphlet talking about Veterans Community Project, so that I could give it to the manager of the business. So the manager could give it to whoever runs their philanthropy department, call it. So we invited the manager of the restaurant, who's an amazing woman named Leah, to sit with us for a second, talk about what we were doing, and hoping that little piece of information will go to her boss, that will go to, all the way up the chain. So I love doing that. I love working any angle I can to make sure people understand the passion and purpose, and to really, make sure that these goals are achieved, and they will be.
So, Grand Canyon.
Yep.
In May, we're going to raise some money.
Okay.
For veteran to end veteran homelessness.
Yeah.
And I want you to be there, man. I want you to be there.
I don't want you to run it though. Can we walk it?
Okay. So here's what I've decided. Maybe? This is what I've decided.
Okay.
I'm going early to set a PR, and I'm doing it on my own. And people that want to come, you can come. No big deal. Yeah. And then we're going to have kind of like a little mastermind day, hang out, get to know each other. And then that next day, I'm going to chill out.
Do it again?
I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
And do it with people who don't want to like be crazy with it.
Okay. Your warm down day will be my toughest
cool
day.
Down. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
But so Grand Canyon in May, guys, if you're listening to this or watching this, you want to join us on this incredible hike, go to the Grand Canyon. In my opinion, it's the most beautiful place on earth. I've been 3 years in a row. This will be my 4th year in a row going. And we start at the South Rim, and we hike to the North Rim. It's about 20-ish. I'll just call it 20-ish miles, a little over 20 miles, and take a little break, eat a little snack, and then we come back. So it ends up being about 45, 46 miles. Do that all in one day.
I like that little trail scramble you got going on. I can do that. Yeah. I mean, we did that Yosemite, kind of a little trot, kind of just moving.
I don't remember.
You don't remember. I remember because I don't usually run when I hike, but you do. So
were we? Oh, did we run?
A little bit. I mean, kind of, it was like a downhill. Kind of like fast little trot. Yeah.
Hey, what's hilarious is, so we were coming down Subdome. So there's at Half Dome, you got to go up this part that's the below actual Half Dome. And it was covered in how much snow you think there was?
Feet. You couldn't see a trail. Feet. You couldn't see. Yeah. You couldn't see the switchbacks.
Yeah, no, you couldn't see a trail at all.
No,
a foot for sure, if not a little bit more.
Just picture a glacier in the shape of a dome.
But it wasn't a glacier. You like sunk with each step.
Yeah.
And it was pretty treacherous because it was pretty steep. Like I look back on that now, I look at pictures and I see the video, and I'm just like, that was pretty dangerous. I was kind of laughing about it.
I'm glad you say that now, because I was about to piss myself the entire time.
I was laughing at
you're like,
how
it's
scared
fine.
You were so scared, and I was just laughing about it. I'm like,
man,
And then there were a couple of times where I'm like, "Ooh, that was
your depth perception off." It was a 3,000-foot cliff on both sides of us, and we're on a snowy embankment with no foothold.
No,
Brian's like, "Oh, it's fine.
it wasn't
It's
ice.
fine. Come on up."
It was snow. We had some traction.
No, snow, not ice.
And we were sharing a set of microspikes.
Yeah,
I
1
had
foot.
one, you had. That was awesome. But so we do that, and well, I don't even know what my point was. The whole subdome thing. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was hard.
Rim to rim to rim is completely different. There is snow, but probably in May, there's probably going to be a little bit of snow, but it's mostly melted at the north rim because it's about 1,000 feet higher up than the south rim is. And it's just beautiful, man. It's just so gorgeous. I hope y'all come out and join us. If it's something you're interested in, just shoot me a DM or let me know. And Eric, we want you there. And we're going to try to recruit some other people and have a good time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Raise some money.
Love it.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir. Good talking to you as always. Do hard things.
Do hard things. See you guys.